Let's go.
What a lovely day!
Annie, there's a whole world out there. Jump in.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You must always pay strict attention.
I was just completely enamored by it the entire time.
Dude, he did not have to go that hard.
I know, man. Isn't it wild?
TheJaredcast.
So it begins.
Hello. Welcome to the only podcast on the internet, TheJaredcast. I'm Jared Lombardo. With me is Jared Ankanan.
Good morning.
Hello. No guest today because we ran out of friends. That's it. No, we're just I want to crank out a couple more Jared specific episodes, so we'll be returning to the guests not next episode after with dear homie Alquan. He would say hello, but he's not here yet, you idiot. Today we're talking about movies featuring evil animals, a topic that I selected, which when we were brainstorming ideas, I was like, ooh, evil animals, with the intention of horror, but neither of us took it a horror direction, which I kind of fuck with.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about Jungle Book and Princess Mononoke instead.
Yeah. Interesting combo.
Yeah. We'll get into some flubs on my part. But before we dive into either of those, we got a little top 5 question, don't we, Jared?
Yes, we do. We're doing top 5 movies with numbers in the title. And no sequels allowed for this one. Or no numbers that indicate that it's a sequel. So
like Too Fast, Too Furious, probably not going to happen.
Sorry, Too Fast.
I don't know why that was the first sequel I could think of.
Exactly. Did you see that Christopher Nolan's favorite Fast and Furious movie is Tokyo Drift?
Really?
He was saying
awesome.
it like the press for Tenet, like someone just asked him randomly.
See, more than I love that answer, I love whoever asked that question, because that's something that people need to know.
Right. What is?
Do you think it was the only one he could remember and he didn't want to say the first one because he didn't want to feel like a dweeb?
Probably. Oh my goodness. Do you have a favorite Fast and Furious movie before we start?
Probably the first. I feel like I watched the first 2 and then Tokyo Drift and then like none of the others. I just gave up on the franchise after that. Yeah, I'm not a diehard Fast and Furious fan. I kind of shit on the franchise more than I praise it.
Yeah.
What about you? What's yours?
I'm not a diehard.
You're the professional here.
Yeah, I'm not a diehard either, but I really like 5 and 7. I think the most. Anyway.
Take your word for it.
Anyway, here we go. Drum roll, please. Top 5. Cool. So my number 5 movie with a number in the title is Pi by Darren Aronofsky. Pi is a number for those of you who don't know. And the movie follows a math genius and kind of like gets you in his head. It was my first Aronofsky movie, and it's for a lot of people it was their first as well. It's a very nightmarish view of this guy's brain and kind of the thoughts that are torturing him as he grows increasingly paranoid, and he tries to find a solution to pi and solution to all these like really crazy numbers with really crazy theories behind them. I don't understand any of it, but it's beautifully shot in black and white, and it has one of the most unforgettable endings I've ever seen. Goodness gracious, I almost like stood up out of my chair like, oh my God. And I've only seen it the one time, but it still left a really thick impression on my on the way I see things and the way I see the
Dummy
world.
thick impression.
Yeah. Yeah.
My number 5 was kind of a surprise to me when it came out. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. I kind of expected it to be kind of terrible. Starring Jonah Hill, Channing Tatum, it's 21 Jump Street. This movie
Hell yeah.
was fucking hilarious. Like I feel like it's just a universally loved film at this point.
Right.
I was debating between this and 22 Jump Street, even though that's a sequel. I feel like the title is kind of, I don't know. I don't know if it would have counted or not. It's a weird gray area.
Right.
But I actually prefer 21 Jump Street. I think it's amazing. Phil Lord and Chris Miller tag team in the directing, which rarely works out. The only other movie I can think of with two directors that's this hilarious is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing. Go watch it. It's free on Hulu if you got Hulu.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. My number 4 is actually a 3-way tie. It's the Three Colors trilogy by Krzysztof Kieslowski. I don't know how to pronounce his
Waltz.
name. Sorry, Polish people. I apologize. But yeah, Three Colors Blue, Three Colors White, and Three Colors Red are all amazing movies. The first one starring Juliette Binoche. The second starring one of my favorite actresses, Julie Delpy. And the third, I don't remember her name, but all three of them are really, really excellent. They all kind of deal with a different genre, but like it's very, I don't know how to put it. It's like the first one's kind of a tragedy because she's dealing with like this crazy loss, but it's kind of like almost every single plot turn subverts tragedy, like subverts your expectations for what a tragedy is. And then the same thing with the second one. It's like this kind of anti-comedy where you know, this horrible thing, this guy's enduring this horrible thing, and he's getting screwed over by his wife, who's a terrible person, but you're still kind of laughing at him the whole way through. And then the last one is a kind of an anti-romance because, you know, these people aren't in love, but they see a kind of kinship between each other, and I think they both see like that had their lives been different, had they been born in the same era, like they probably would have been in love. And yeah, I highly recommend all three. Yeah.
Cool. Number 4 for moi, another universally beloved movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Ooh.
Stanley Kubrick. I like this film. I feel like a lot of people don't. I know I said universally loved literally like 2 seconds ago. I feel like people respect this movie but don't actually enjoy watching it. I could watch this shit all the time. I could rewatch this movie despite it being like 14 hours long and bit slow, but I adore it. I think it's beautiful. I think it's stunning. The soundtrack is legendary. I think it's Kubrick firing on all cylinders, which when that happens, it's hard to hate. If you're unfamiliar, kind of a space epic, even though it's split into kind of 3 chapters. First being prehistoric with the monolith, and then you get the meat of the film, which is kind of a almost space horror in a way, where a computer system named HAL tries to do some funny business with some people on a spaceship. And then the 3rd chapter, fucking psychedelic space baby montage. I don't how do you describe the end of this film? But it's fantastic nonetheless. Legendary, so influential for pretty much every space film to come. I don't think there's a film that takes place in space that doesn't have a fingerprint from this film. So if you haven't, do it.
Hell yeah. My number 3 is Ocean's 11, the 2001 version by Steven Soderbergh, starring George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Julia Roberts, Andy Garcia, and a whole bunch of others. Bernie Mac, shout out Bernie Mac, I love you. Yeah, I've seen this 11 times. I think that's the only endorsement worth giving for this one.
Did you purposely do it 11 times and then just never watch it again?
No,
Is that intentional?
I hit 11 like sometime like in early college, and I'm like, this is real. Like I've seen, wow, this is crazy. But I'm down to rewatch it again. I don't. Yeah, it's one of the most rewatchable movies I've ever seen. So
yeah, we have a category that I think would probably fit it at some point.
Right.
Whenever we get to that. My number 3, number 3. We're going back a few years, even further than Kubrick, to 1957, with Sidney Lumet's interpretation of the classic play 12 Angry Men. I think it says something for a film to basically just be all dialogue in one room, and still be as captivating and intense as this one gets. Story of post-murder trial. 12 jurors must just deliberate. It's either life or death for the accused, and they have to decide whether he's guilty or not. And starts off as what looks like an easy decision, but upon closer inspection, maybe not. It's fantastic. It's a classic. What else could I say?
yeah, I agree. My number 2 is a bit of a dark horse. It's called 20th Century Women. This movie kind of got it got a lot of like praise when it came out, but it also came out the same year as Arrival, La La Land, and Moonlight.
Yep.
So, but it's nonetheless beautiful, devastating, and criminally underrated. It's got an amazingly stacked cast of excuse me. It's got an amazingly stacked cast at the top of their game. You got Billy Cudrup, you got Elle Fanning, what's her name? Annette Bening, and Greta Gerwig. The screenplay is absolutely stunning. They do stuff in the screenplay and in the editing that you normally wouldn't think to do, like a lot of narration. Like I feel like there's kind of been this, I think because of Cinema Sins and Honest Trailers, like people have kind of dissed good narration, but this is like really, really excellent stuff in the and really well written, really, really endearing narration that I think lifts up the story. And they also cut to like still photographs. They cut to just random news footage, and it still absolutely works. I love this movie a lot.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Don't just take his word for it. I will jump on that train. At my number 2, I think this is one that at least Jared expected, knowing me as a person and my film taste. David Fincher, he's got to make the list somewhere. He made it number 2 with 7.
Yep.
Or 7 in, depending on how annoying you want to be to your friends. It follows Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kevin Spacey's in there. When a retired detective, or retiring, he's like, ooh, one last case. One of those movies, with the new hotshot played by Brad Pitt to track down a serial killer, who's later revealed as Kevin Spacey. But he kind of creates these almost in a dark way beautiful vignettes of the 7 deadly sins. Absolutely insane movie. I think Kevin Spacey's reveal, which, like, sure, controversy aside, he's great in this movie.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. And the reveal of him even being in the movie was insane. Wasn't listed in the credits or anything because they wanted it to be a surprise when he shows up, and it really is. If you like a thrill and crime I guess thriller. Check it out.
Yeah, love Seven. It's great. My number one is similar in title, but not a similar movie at all. It's a movie that came out in 1954, Seven Samurai. This has been copied and remade so many different ways, but it still holds up to this day as one of the original action movies. And it's an absolute indisputable classic. I can't really say anything that hasn't been said about the movie. It's like the audio is revolutionary in like how full it sounds and how like insanely epic it sounds, and the way it looks, it kind of like there's so much movement on the screen that it feels like you're watching Beethoven's music. Like it's so full and rich, and yeah, love this movie.
Yeah, what I said about 2001 for space movies, Seven Samurai is for not only samurai movies but also just westerns. I feel like there's a lot of movies that Kurosawa did not like. He's all over the place with that one.
Yeah.
My number one is directed by Milos Forman. Came out in 1976, starring Jack Nicholson, Louise Fletcher as one of the greatest villains in cinema, Nurse Ratched, Danny DeVito's in there. It's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I absolutely love this movie. I think it may be my favorite Jack Nicholson performance. Nurse Ratched still haunts my dreams, even though she's kind of a toned down villain, but the pure evil within her is insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing movie about rebellion and freedom, whether misguided or not. It's heartwarming with some parts. I won't ruin the ending if you haven't seen this movie from 75. We spoil enough, but it's absolutely amazing. I don't know what else to say about it.
Hell yeah, dude. That's a solid top 5. Is that the first one that we've...
You too.
Yeah, thanks. Is that the first one we've done that where all of them are different?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Very nice.
Mostly because I forgot about Seven Samurai, or I would have that would have been on the list.
Yeah.
But it worked out. We pulled it off this time.
Hell yeah. Anyway, shall we kick off with The Jungle Book?
I think so.
Woo woo.
Disney classic Jungle Book came out in 1967. Plot follows a feral child named Mowgli, which when I was looking up this movie, apparently it was supposed to be Mowgli, according to the book, but they're like, nope, it's Mowgli now and forever. And so it's Mowgli. But it's about a feral child named Mowgli raised in the Indian jungle by wolves. And then his dear friend Bagheera, the Black Panther, and Baloo, the bear, try to convince him to leave the jungle before Shere Khan eats his little boy body. It was the final film produced by Walt Disney, kind of made in response to The Sword in the Stone being a huge flop and disappointment. They're like, well, we gotta prove ourselves once again, and so they set out to make The Jungle Book, based off a novel by, I guess I didn't write that in my notes because I'm a bad podcaster.
Rudyard Kipling.
Based off, by Kipling. Apparently it deviates a lot from that. There are more loyal interpretations. There's a Russian version of the film, which apparently is very loyal. I have not seen it. And the remake by Favreau is apparently more on par. Speaking of, I kind of picked this one to pair with Princess Mononoke because environmentalism. But the remake kind of jaded my memory apparently, because this one does not have as much references to environmentalism as the original.
No.
Nonetheless, I grew up on this movie. I think this, like Tarzan and maybe Aladdin, and I guess Lion King too, were kind of my most watched like childhood Disney movies for sure. Despite this one coming out so many years before I was born, it was constantly on, probably because of the banging music. I feel like this might have some of the best Disney music in any film, but we'll get there. I rated it a 5.2 out of 10. I think it could have been done better, but I still adore this movie for what it is.
Nice.
What were your thoughts?
My rating was a bit lower. It's 4.7.
That makes it the first movie below a 5
Yeah,
for either of us that we've done.
Yeah. I don't really have the same connection with this one as you do. I'm more used to, like, I really love Tarzan and Aladdin. I think I was a lot tighter with those ones. And
yeah.
But I think it's a beautiful movie, especially for the time. There's really nice colors in this latest digital remaster. There's beautiful background art, really cool animal designs, especially Bagheera and the wolves. And the sound design is a little empty, but it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's still pretty good. Like the actual effects themselves, are really good. I can get into why the stuff I didn't like later on, but I think the reason why I like the main thing I like about it is Blue. Best song, best design, one of the best animated dances I've ever seen. And he's so memorable and such a cool person to hang out, and such a cool character to hang out with. Yeah.
I absolutely love the animation. Well, we can start there because you brought it up a bit. They use xerography with the character design. The animation was led by one Ken Anderson, which kind of employed like rough artistic edges to kind of contrast the animals that you'd seen before in like Dumbo and films like that. So the characters really pop in this one, and I think that's where especially Baloo, he's got a lot of kind of jagged edges on him, which is unique for Disney and kind of influenced their style going forward. They had individual animators do entire sequences instead of like just cranking out frames and tracing them. So I feel like you kind of feel a bit more of a personal touch, and it flows a bit smoother than previous films. Obviously, this is 67, and they were making it in 66, so it's not going to look as good as even Princess Mononoke, which we'll get to, or later animated films. But putting yourself back in the time, it's a very smooth animation. It's not choppy at all. And I think that has to kind of do with the methodology that they used. It kind of follows a road movie structure in a way. I guess that was kind of the best way that I could put it.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the story of him and Bagheera for the most part until they meet up with Baloo, trying to convince Mowgli to go back home. I think they run into these wacky characters, not unlike why am I blanking on the name? Fucking Coen Brothers movie we did.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I don't know why I couldn't remember that. It's not unlike that. They meet the python and give him his due, and just kind of run into these characters in the jungle throughout. Kind of a story of where people belong in the world, and maybe you're in a place where you like it, but it's not right for you because it's dangerous. And kind of the friendships made along the way.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song in the film?
Yeah, Bare Necessities, man.
Yeah.
That's the best one. Like even when I was in like second grade and Disney kept bombarding me with that commercial about their soundtrack, and all I would hear was the chorus, I still wasn't tired of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have a controversial opinion on my favorite song. I love Bare Necessities to death. Don't get me wrong.
Interesting.
Absolute banger of a song. S tier Disney song.
Yeah.
But I Want to Be Like You. Oh, baby. I think I got to put that one above it. Not going to lie.
Interesting. I did not feel the same way about I
No?
Want to Be Like You. I thought it felt a little racist. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know like how to do this without ruining people's childhoods. But
Nah, let it out.
yeah.
Let's fuck some lives up.
Like this was the 60s and this was a very different time in Hollywood, so I imagine that this would be kind of not really an issue back then, but
Yeah.
it's kind of weird that the King of the Monkeys sings like Louis Armstrong, and that he's trying to kind of like steal from humankind's civilization. He uses scat vocals, and I know the singer's name is Louis Prima, but
Yeah.
I know he doesn't sound like that normally too, so yeah. And then at the end of the scene, Bagheera calls them undesirable scatterbrained apes, and I'm like, all right, who are you really talking about here? Like,
Yeah.
I would really, really love to be wrong about this, but it didn't sit well with me, the whole thing. And that's kind of why it kind of like put a bit of a low note on the rest of the movie following that. But like besides that scene and besides that movie, like I agree, it's a really fun road movie, and I like the idea of like either showing this one or like the older or the newer one as like as a movie for little kids to like show them like, hey, like, it's okay to not feel like you belong sometimes, and it's okay to just to turn to your friends and to lean on them for support. I think the movie is really good about that. There's also a thing with the elephants. When the main guy's wife like
Yeah.
she's like, if you don't do this, I'll do it myself, and he's like, a female leading the herd? Preposterous.
Unheard of.
Yeah. But yeah, the themes of duty and belonging and community and growing up and like different lifestyles being like being cool and adaptable. Like I agree that it's otherwise a lovely movie. And I think that I like Bare Necessities because it has like it's the kind of the similar jazz pop vibes as I Want to Be Like You, because separate from all of that stuff, like
Yeah.
like I Want to Be Like You, I agree, is a really like fun, danceable, and like cool song, and I like it when Christopher Walken sings it. Like,
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not my favorite scene because of all the racial tension within it. But strictly based off the music alone, I prefer it over Bare Necessities.
Yeah.
But Bare Necessities is literally like top 3 Disney songs of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is still a very tight race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Blue as your favorite character. I'd have to agree with that. He has such a warm energy and presence. His voice acting is amazing. He absolutely kills it.
Yeah.
It's done by, where is it? Oh boy, I wrote too many names down. Probably shouldn't have wrote the whole cast.
You wrote the whole cast, so you did write the characters right next to their names.
No, I did, but it's just too cluttered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's Rudar. No, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
They're all dead.
Yeah, Phil Harris. I think Phil Harris.
Okay.
Yeah, Phil Harris. I got there. Professionalism. But he absolutely kills it, and they were saying in production, his performance really guided the entire character. They animated it strictly because of him, and around his voice, rather than his like building the character's mannerisms and saying you emulate this. It was the other way around. And it's absolutely delightful. It's so warm and inviting. Like you feel like you're best friends with him from the second he speaks.
Yeah.
The scene of them fighting is hilarious and adorable. The bear fist fight, absolutely love it.
How do you think it compares to Jon Favreau's version?
It's tough because they're the same movie, but they're so different. Like the animation style, you can't really compare.
Yeah.
I know technically Jungle Book's live action, but like if it's live action, why is it 99% animated?
Right.
At least photorealistic, I think would be the better word for it. But like you can't really compare the two animations. I think Jon Favreau's has more substance to it, which would be where I give it the edge. I think I would lean Favreau because of that. I think it's got more fleshed out characters. They hit the theme of environmentalism harder. The only mention in the original is in the song "I Want to Be Like You." King Louis mentions "Man's Red Fire." And that's it. Like that's the only. You get an offhanded line by I think Bagheera where he's like, "Oh, that would probably mess up the jungle if you got that," and then that's it.
Yeah.
You don't really see the human destruction of the environment. So I'd give Favreau's version a point there as well. But all the nostalgia points go to the original.
Right.
Just because of that, it kind of is pretty equal for me. What about you?
I definitely like the music better in this one. Because, as cool as it is to hear Bill Murray sing one of my favorite songs as a little kid, like, it's not as good as the original. But I think the main thing that I like about the remake versus this one is that Shere Khan feels more like a threat in the other one. This one, like you said, is a cool like road movie. It's a cool hangout movie. But the stakes of, like Shere Khan, like don't really feel that high. I know in the book he actually takes over the wolf pack, and like tries to kill the leader, and like Mowgli has to lead like a revolution or something like that. It's pretty cool, and like the way he kills Shere Khan is better too. But I know this is a kids movie, and I know it. They don't want to be too scary, but Kaa is like. I think a lot scarier as a villain in this movie, and like at least more than Shere Khan. And so I wish I'd
agree.
Yeah, I wish they leaned into that a little harder. But it's it's okay. And I know they don't want to alienate children from watching this, especially in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kaa's animation is also fantastic.
So
with the hypnotizing eyes alone. His eyes are incredibly expressive the entire time he's talking.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any extremities, so they had to kind of put extra effort into the eyes, and I think they pulled it off amazingly. You kind of feel the weird, like, I want to say seduction, but that gives it a weird sexual vibe.
Right.
But not in a sexual way. He's very seductive. And you can see that within the animation. Him trying to swindle Shere Khan, that scene of that confrontation is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think is that the first time you see Shere Khan? Do you remember? Is before he goes up to Kaa. Do you see him?
Yeah, I think so. He's coming out of the grass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That introduction is great. I think that's the first time you really get menacing vibes from him, because up until that point, you just hear the legend. You're like, ooh, Shere Khan's coming.
Yeah.
He's gonna kill this boy. But you don't really buy into it until you kind of see him lurking. And I think they do hit that a bit late in the movie. But when it happens, it's intimidating, and that confrontation, because you're afraid of Ka up until this point. You're like, Ka's for real. He's gonna kill everybody
Right.
just to get a meal. But then Shere Khan kind of makes him his bitch and intimidates the hell out of him. And I think it's one of the only times you're afraid of Shere Khan.
Yeah, I agree. I also really like the Beatles vultures.
Yeah,
Those were awesome.
I was gonna say, was that directly influenced? Because there's 4 of them. They're British. They got shitty haircuts. It's gotta be, right?
The one that sounds like Paul is definitely like that's the most on the nose one. Like,
Yeah.
that's a very like pleasant scene. I was very happy by that.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite? Was that your favorite or Baloo?
Yeah, Blue, but I also like when Baloo, like when everybody thinks he's dead, and again, spoiler alert for a 60-year-old movie. When they think Baloo's dead, and then Bagheera like quotes Jesus for some reason. He's like, "There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends." And I'm like, "All right, cool." Panthers read the
Passion of the Christ in there.
Yeah, I didn't know Panthers read the Book of John. That's cool. Yeah, I like, even that kind of weird dialogue aside, like it's like really, really beautifully lit. That scene. And like lighting is hard in real life, but to like simulate it and like make it like feel dramatic in on using colors and paper and paint, like it's so difficult, and they pull it off really, really well. And you know, even though you kind of can see where the movie's going, like it still feels like a sad moment, and you understand the character's pain, the Mowgli's pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think so. My favorite would probably be the bare necessity scene. But I also really like the introduction scene of the elephants, the militarized elephants, and how Mowgli just tries to join in. I think that scene has kind of the best humor. That's the only time I laughed rewatching it now. But as a kid, I was dying the entire film, especially there. Even like just them kind of shitting on the leader, and one of them's like, "Ooh, I'm putting a transfer to another herd." Like, just small jokes like that are hilarious.
Yeah.
Despite the light sexism we get toward the end there. But it's the 60s. Like, it's a product of its time. Not to excuse that behavior. They weren't cognizant of it, and how like things like that, and I Want to Be Like You were definitely in bad taste.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. One thing that I absolutely love about Disney, which I am a big Disney hater, I think they're kind of an evil corporation.
Right.
But one thing that I appreciate them doing is when they show old movies, this one probably wouldn't qualify for the message, but they kind of put a title before. They're like, this is a product of its time. We could easily censor it, but we want you to see it, because they don't try to hide their past mistakes.
Yeah.
Essentially is what I'm trying to get at. And I totally respect that. I think that's a great way to go about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And in the Disney Plus, because that's where I watched it, they had the disclaimer on there. So.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay. I still do not have access to Disney Plus, hence why I still haven't watched season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Get on it, bro. Get on it.
I know. I'm a failure.
It's okay.
Yeah, say what you will about Shere Khan, though, going back to him, he's got a pretty fire baritone. I think he might have the best voice in the film.
Oh, yeah.
Except for maybe Louis Prima as King Louis, but he's a professional singer.
Right.
So that aside, I think Shere Khan's got the best voice in there.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then I wanted to touch on the ending as well. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm kind of disappointed in the ending here.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Yeah, he didn't even go back to say bye to his bros. He just
Yeah.
he just got his first boner and left. Like
For real. At the end of my notes, I typed,
know, like
moral of the story, friends are chill, but pussy is better.
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't think that's a good. I don't think that's a good message to send to the bros. That's okay.
No.
But the girl's voice is really beautiful. I don't know if she's sung anywhere else, but she sounded familiar. And I think they go back right in the sequel. I don't remember.
Yeah, I believe so. That one's kind of blurred from my memory, but I think so.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It was whatever.
Yeah, I just think because the whole theme of belonging and kind of being okay with just kind of people that you love, I think it would have hit better if he like helped her out and then returned to his real family in the jungle, and he's like kind of faced up to the danger in a way. I think it would have been a more powerful message that way rather than him truly like leaving with her and staying with her. I really want like a rated R sequel where this kid has like PTSD from just being raised by wolves and he has to like adapt into society. I think that would be a fucking amazing film. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just get super gritty with it. But I think, it kind of lost a few points because of the ending. I think it was a bit unsavory for me.
Yeah. But you know what? Ultimately, the movie's not made for 24-year-old men.
Exactly. We're not really the intended audience.
Yeah. I think I would still recommend this to people, like, just to dance with their kids and stuff, but also let them know, like, movies back then were people were different, and people did and said and thought that different things were okay, and they're not okay now, and they never were in the first place. But just dance. And
but put on bare necessities and jam out a bit.
Yeah.
Also, side note on Baloo too, the scene where after I Want to Be Like You, where they escape from the monkeys and he collapses the whole ruin, he just wiped out like an entire species in one go there.
Yeah.
Man's committed genocide in the jungle.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah,
but that's pretty much all I got on the Jungle Book. I don't know if you've got more. I feel like there's not as much to analyze as some of the other films we've mentioned, but it's just a good feel good. Besides the bad tasting parts, it's a good feel good kids movie. Yeah,
I agree, and movies don't need to have like really deep, like thematic expressions to impress or to be enjoyable.
Con Air.
Hey man, hey, don't shit on Con Air.
I'm just saying it's not very not very deep.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to Princess Mononoke?
I am down. Let's get our weeb hats on, huh?
Yeah. So this is our first anime of the podcast, and I'm excited. It's one of the best I think ever made. Not perfect. We can get into that later. I gave it an 8.7 because I really, really enjoy it. I think Miyazaki, it's one of his best things that he's ever done as a director. A couple production notes, because I could go on and on and on about the production, but just to give you an idea, there were like hundreds of thousands of cells animated in the film, combining digital and hand-drawn art. It's insanely well done and virtually seamless. I don't really, like even someone like me, like who's seen this like a couple times, like I can't really spot where the CGI ends and where it begins. And Miyazaki himself, as a director, oversaw so there were a total of 144,000 cells in the film, and he oversaw all of them. And he probably redrew, they estimate that he redrew 80,000 of them personally. This movie took forever to make, and the storyboards weren't even done like the year it came out. Like they were working on it like months before its release date. The design is inspired by Westerns. It's kind of mixing like English and medieval Japan cultures. They don't want it to be accurate. Like it is a fantasy, and it's a high fantasy where the animals aren't just animals; they're gods, and they excuse me, and they're clashing with industrial civilization. So you see some design clashes with Western and Eastern clothing and weaponry, and even some Chinese stuff in there too, in the designs. As far as what I personally like about it, I think the music is amazing. I think Ashitaka is one of the most badass protagonists I've ever seen. I love the conflict between Lady Eboshi and the Deer God, because the movie's not just an environmental movie, it's also an anti-war story. And I like that it's not, I think the Kodama are cute as hell. I think Mononoke, or San, as she's known by her wolf family, is an excellently designed character. Yeah, I really, really enjoy this movie, and I think it's you'll see a lot of similarities between this one and James Cameron's Avatar, but I actually really prefer this one. It doesn't feel as preachy or as on the nose as Avatar does. And they definitely, it's not like with Avatar, it's definitely like, trees good, military bad. Like,
Yeah.
And this one, it wants to inspire people to show compassion to both humankind and to nature. And I think that's where the movie shines, and that's where the protagonist specifically comes alive for me. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. This is, I've seen two Miyazaki movies, and this is one of them. You happen to drop it right in my wheelhouse. I do think this is my second favorite, following Spirited Away, because I'm a cliche motherfucker. But I absolutely love this movie. I think it's beautifully animated. I think looks even like gorgeous by today's standards. Like you could put this out today,
Yeah.
and it would be kind of passed off as a style rather than looking dated. And I think that says a lot about the cohesiveness of the animation. I think it's got incredible characters. It's got incredible acting. I watched the sub version the first time, and this time I watched dubbed. And I think both are amazing. I think I know in the anime community, not that I'm a big part of it, there's a big debate between like subbed and dubbed.
Yeah.
Studio Ghibli's got, or is it Ghibli or Ghibli?
I think it's Ghibli. Yeah.
Ghibli. They got money. And so the dubbed versions are always going to be pretty damn good. So it's not really something I think we have to worry about in this case. But yeah, I think it's an absolutely stunning movie with incredible characters. I gave it, this was close to being our first identical rating. I gave it an 8.6.
Ooh.
So we were right there.
Ooh.
I also think it's worth noting that I think this is the first movie we've done that passes the Bechdel test. Am I incorrect?
Is it? Goodness
I
gracious.
think so. Yeah, we've had a lot of not female empowering films so far.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot in our top 5, in our top 3s,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right.
But I don't think
Goodness
we've
gracious.
selected one. Yeah. So he definitely gets props for that. Having strong female characters that actually do shit in the world.
Yeah.
I think it's most of the most powerful people in this film are female, and I think that's awesome, especially for 90s. Obviously, people were kind of coming to their senses, combined with this being a different culture than a Western culture that we obviously live in. But I give them props for that regardless.
Yeah, I agree. Man, I didn't even think about it passing the Bechdel test, because Ghibli's so good about even if they're dumb little kids, they really are great at writing female characters. My Neighbor Totoro comes to mind, because it's two girls that are under the age of I think one of them is 10 and the other one is 6, but they're still really rich and wonderfully animated characters. But the titular character here is I think one of the best characters in the studio's history. This isn't my favorite Ghibli movie, but I think this is my favorite Miyazaki movie that he directed. My favorite Ghibli movie is Whisper of the Heart, which I should definitely show you one day. But Princess Mononoke, or San, is so freaking cool. The way she's introduced, you don't see her face for 5 minutes, and then when you do, she's sucking blood out of her mother's bullet wound. Goodness gracious, so freaking cool. And this is one of the earliest times where I as a little kid watching this on Toonami, I would because I actually started with the dubbed version, and I was like, whoa, people are getting their heads cut off, this is crazy. Yeah,
they love dismemberment in this film. They love just cleanly cutting limbs and heads off.
and it's never gross, it's always funny, and
yeah,
but it's kind of weird the way he the shot of him shooting the arrow, and then it's just
just pops off, and the dude's like, nope, I'm out of here.
Yep. But yeah, anyway, back to San. Her design is super cool, and I really like that she's kind of the way she relates to Ashitaka is kind of being caught in this tension between nature and humanity, for what she knows, and for she is a wolf. Her family literally dumped her as a baby to distract the wolf from eating them. So she cares deeply about her home with the deer god, and with her with the Moro tribe. And she's decisive, she's wise, she's smart, especially near the end. Even though she does need help, she's not afraid to ask. She never feels like a damsel. And I think it's definitely one of the coolest characters in the movie.
And I do also like that she kind of has a glaring weakness in her desire to take down, what's her name? The
Lady Eboshi?
Iron Lady. Yeah. Take down Lady Eboshi. You can see this in the scene where she kind of sieges the town. She has an obvious weakness where she wants it too badly, and it's potentially her downfall in that moment. She gets out of there, but I like that she's she's also flawed. Like she's not
Yeah.
just this perfect badass.
Right.
She's also got some issues.
Yeah, definitely. Another great female character in the movie besides the I guess she's not really a villain, but Lady Boshi's not a villain, but Toki, the one of the leaders in the iron workshop, like the scene when they get there and she's literally just scolding everyone. The scene, and then I really love that character as well. Like, you know, you only get to see her fight a little bit, but she's a major, like a much needed, like, comedic relief character as well, kind of just yelling at her husband for almost getting killed.
Yeah, her pairing with Kuroku is fantastic as well, because he already comes in as like introduced as this comedic relief person,
Right.
And then you kind of find somebody even funnier than him, and it's great. He kind of just builds up to her in a really nice way.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite scene?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it already. The original siege of Irontown,
Gotcha.
by Princess Mononoke. I think it's absolutely stunning. It's badass. I like that they kind of cut out the music for it too. It gives it a very weirdly tense atmosphere behind it, rather than just kind of flooding you with loud, annoying, upbeat, fast-paced stuff. It doesn't need that to feel intense, and I really think they pulled that off super well. You really get a good idea of Ashitaka's kind of mentality, and how he's not really on either side. He just wants to do what he believes is good, and that's it. He's a really, like, I would say, like, lawful good character in a way.
Yeah.
He just does what he wants to do, and that's that. But you really see Princess Mononoke's badassness in full force, but also you see Lady Eboshi's strength. You see her actual power, because you kind of get a taste of it in Mononoke's introduction with them shooting at the wolves, but they don't really hit. Like they don't do any real damage. But here you're like, okay, they are not to be trifled with. The weapons that they've created are destructive and can fuck a motherfucker up. And so I think it's just a amazing scene all around.
Yeah. And I like that, speaking about Eboshi's strength, like, I like that her and Mononoke are both introduced as, like, their own characters with their own intersecting stories. Like, it's not just all Ashitaka's perspective, right? Because he's a really cool protagonist, right? He's young, but he carries the wisdom of these elders who taught him compassion for both nature and humanity. But he's always very reluctant to fight. He's very reluctant to kill, but he's also very quick to rise to his task. But you like, even though you are introduced to these people from his perspective, like, even when the movie cuts away from, like, the movie will cut away from him, and you still follow these characters, but it never, like, takes the air out, I don't think. Sometimes movies fall into that trap where you cut away from the A story, and then all of a sudden the movie's kind of boring. I don't think this movie has that problem at all. Like, I really am invested in Iboshi's, like, struggle against the local governor. Even though I don't like the way that even though you don't, like, agree with the way that she treats nature, like, you understand that, like, this is a great leader of men and a great leader of women. Like, she is doing everything that she can for her community. And also with the deer god and with his tribes, like, you understand that these people know that the end is near, but they still want to fight anyway, and you root for them. And it's just really, really solid writing all around.
What was your favorite scene?
Oh, my favorite scene. I really love...
People are on the edge of their seat.
I I love all the action scenes. I love the first scene, which made me think of the like putting this in Evil Animals in the first place, because the boar god in the beginning that gets possessed by a demonic force. You know, you realize, like, well, first of all, he's like the scariest thing I've ever seen in like a kid's movie. But
little spaghetti monster.
Spaghetti spider monster. Yeah, he's really, really scary, and really like, oh my goodness, like it gets like within inches of Ashitaka's face in the first few minutes. But you know, he, like, you realize that this creature isn't evil, like, and I think that is like sets up a really interesting conflict throughout the rest of the movie, and so that scene's pretty close for me. I think the scene that takes the cake, though, is when you see the deer god's face for the first time, and he
hot take, I don't really like its face. I think it is very unsettling, and I wasn't a fan.
Well, yeah, I think that's actually why I like it. You know, it's the perfect combination, at least to me. I understand why other people might not like it, but for me, like, it inspires awe, but also like fear, like this thing can do whatever it wants to the world, and the thing I think that makes it super unsettling is that they completely take the sound out of the movie. Like, it's such a rich soundscape for the entire movie, and then when you hear the deer god and he steps onto the water and there's nothing. It gives me chills every time I see it. And this is only like my second and a half time. I saw it on. No, I've seen it 3 times. Never mind. I saw it on Toonami, and then I rented the dub version in the library, and then this was actually my first time watching it subbed. But yeah, that wasn't my originally favorite scene to start with, but it was for this watch at least. And I love the demon god as well. That's a close second. Just the symbolism of decay and corruption, and not just the cruel indifference of nature, but the cruel indifference of humankind. It kind of kicks off the theme of infection, and like this idea that the curses and the trauma and the harm that's caused by nature isn't just inflicted upon nature; it's inflicted upon us as well, because we're a part of it. I really love how they bring that tension to life in Ashitaka's journey.
Yeah. I do one issue that not really an issue, but one thing I wish the film did more was kind of go more into the ape tribe.
Yeah.
I feel like the wolf clan and the boar babes, they kind of get more of a due than the apes. And so it would have been cool to see more of their story and their side of things. I didn't really know what to make of them. Like, I know they're going around trying to replant the forest, and kind of like battle with the humans in that way rather than directly.
Right.
But that's kind of all I got out of them.
Yeah, it's interesting that they didn't join the fight with the boars. I didn't understand that either. So I agree.
Yeah.
My main issue is the ending, because it's very confusing.
Yeah. Also that.
It's especially for a first time watcher, but like even as a third time watcher, I was like, what? Like,
on my second, I was like, I kind of get it.
Right. Yeah, like it's a bit rushed, and because of that, it's very, very confusing. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that happens. Like, I love when Moro's head just like slides across the ground and eats Lady Eboshi's arm. Like, that's one of the coolest like moments in the whole film. And I like the kind of the attitude the ending has about like the nature god kind of telling everybody to like erasing all the death and erasing all the corruption that's happened in this area, and just kind of like you see it foreshadowed in the dear God's footsteps, because you see like the weeds and the flower, like every single footstep there's a bunch of weeds and flowers that grow really really quickly and then wither really really quickly and then turn into brown.
Yeah.
So this God is not just responsible for life and creation, but also for death and rebirth, and I guess recycling and or whatever life cycle. Yeah, like I understand it on that level. It's just it happens so quickly. Like they put so much love and care into literally every single arc, and then it kind of just like that. Like it feels very very quick. And
it's weird that it is so rushed, because literally nothing else in the movie is rushed.
Yeah.
Everything else gets its due time. It gets fleshed out, and then this is like the battle with the Night King. It's just over immediately after 8 seasons.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was, it's a beautifully animated ending, and I like that they don't really end up as a couple, but they still love each other. You know, there's it's an interesting way to end a fantasy romance. But yeah, there's not a whole lot else I can say about it. In Whisper of the Heart, they actually kind of have like, they kind of do this cool thing where like the ending plays out over the credits, and so I feel like that would have been a lot more if they did that here. That would have been a lot better, but it's fine.
It'll do.
It's still like an amazing achievement of a film, and one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. Super influential on my personal, like, just not just taste, but like what I'm interested in, like the stories I'm interested in telling. Like we talked about, like strong female characters, and if you've if you've read anything I've ever written, like I have a thing for that. Or any reviews I've written for Alien. I can't wait to watch this movie again sometime in the future. Anything else you got to add about it?
No, I think it just says a lot if, like, we were kind of poo-pooing the ending, but if that's literally the only thing wrong with the film that we can find, that's an amazing feat.
Yeah.
I think it's from what I've seen and heard, it's rare that Studio Ghibli misses. And I think to be that consistent is amazing. And not even that, kind of produce something so wonderful and whimsical, but also keep a message and get that message across effectively. It's insane.
Yeah. And like even though there's a lot that's happening and it's busy and it's visually kind of hard to digest, like the writing of it is still really good. Like they give everyone an appropriate place to be at the end, like every character. And I really I'm glad you liked it. And I actually didn't know that you had seen it before, so I was
I know. I've seen like 3 anime films, and you picked one of them. It's like this, Spirited Away, and Your Name.
Right.
And I think that's probably it off the top of my head.
interesting. Well, I can't wait to show you some Satoshi Kon, because that shit's dope, dude. But
Sounds fantastic.
yeah. Miyazaki, Princess Mononoke, super good. Anything you want to say to the people before we close out this episode?
I hope you're having a wonderful time. Hopefully things are getting better.
Yeah.
we don't really go into real life shit, but time we're recording this, it's a weird time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just hope everybody's doing well, staying safe, staying happy, staying sexy.
Well, thank you guys for listening. You can follow the Jaredcast on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. I don't know what we're gonna do on TikTok yet, but we'll figure.
Post bits.
Yeah, just little clips.
We can post a bit about me saying that friendship is nice, but pussy's better over the Jungle Book cover.
Yeah. Definitely. And also Instagram. I feel like Instagram is the place where it's popping the most. So thank you all to everybody that's we have a link tree set up with every streaming platform where you can view this episode and many more to come. Thank you guys for listening. We love you. And goodbye.
See ya.
Yep.